All right, welcome to the January 29th, 2024 meeting of the Ann Arbor District Library Board of Trustees. Have we taken attendance? Okay.
Trustee Hadley?
Here.
Trustee Kleinman?
Here.
Trustee Leha?
Here.
Trustee Solomon?
Here.
Trustee Silva?
Here.
Trustee Trudeau?
Here.
All right.
All right. So moving right along. So our first order of business tonight is to elect new library board officers. So we will start with the officer position of president. Do we have a nomination, or can I make a nomination? I would like to make a nomination for president, Molly Kleinman.
Oh, I'll second that.
Okay. Do we do other nominees, or do we do discussion on that?
And seek other nominees.
Okay, are there any other nominees? Okay, hearing no one. Then, any discussion?
Molly's so great.
Yeah, all right.
I think that you're going to do phenomenal in this position. Should we appoint you?
Let's see how this goes. So this is a roll call
Suspense is
vote.
killing me.
If there's no further discussion.
Trustee Hadley?
Heck yeah. Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Leha?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes. All right. So do we do the transfer?
No, first appoint the new officers and then you
Then we do it,
relinquish.
okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so for vice president, do we have any nominations?
I have a nomination. I would like to nominate Anna Solomon for vice president.
Second.
Thank
All right, any other nominations? All right, hearing none, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we have another roll call vote.
Trustee Hadley?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Leha?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes. All right, so for treasurer, do we have any nominations?
I would like to nominate Aiden Silva.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Trustee Hadley?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Leha?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes. And finally, for secretary, do we have any nominations?
I nominate Trustee Hadley for secretary.
Terrific.
Seconded.
Any other nominations? Okay, any further discussion? All right, a roll call vote for Secretary Hadley.
Trustee Hadley?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Leha?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes. Okay, now we move on to the installation of officers. So,
We all just read
All
this
four of you
together?
can read it together at the same time.
I think you should stand. I do.
Yes, sir.
We had to stand when we used to do this.
Okay,
Oh, so we can't update things now?
Yeah, well, no, you can do whatever you want.
okay. All right,
Ready.
ready, 1, 2, 3.
I, Anna Hadley, do solemnly swear that I will abide by the bylaws, rules, and regulations of my office as to the best of my ability. Look at that reading.
and thank you all for taking on these new roles and responsibilities. And with that, I will pass the gavel over to President Kleinman.
Thanks so much.
And thank you, Scott, for your excellent service as president.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Next, we are going to approve the agenda. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any changes to the agenda? All right, all those, this is not a roll call, right? So
No.
all those in favor of the agenda say yes?
Yes.
Great, all those opposed?
Okay, the agenda is approved. Now we have the consent agenda, which has two items, the approval of the minutes from November and the approval of November and December disbursements.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Excellent. Any discussion? Cool. All those in favor of the consent agenda, say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? Great. Okay, so consent agenda is approved. Now we move on to public comments. Are there any public comments tonight?
No citizen comment.
Okay. Next up, it's time for financial reports.
All right. So your financial reports tonight begin on page 24. We're going to talk about the December report because both November and December are in here. So we're going to talk about the December report that begins on the page marked 31. So just to touch on a couple of highlights, we've received $20 million of our tax revenue, or of revenue so far. That's 99.5% of our budget, pretty much right on track. Our general fund balance as of December 31st is $9.4 million. That's about 5.6 months worth of operations. Moving on to the next page, our total revenues so far, and that's accrued over the course of the year, 51.6% of budget after 50% of the 50% of the fiscal year. That's where you like to be on your revenues. And on expenditures, we've expended 46.3% of the budget after 50% of the fiscal year. So running a little behind as well in a good way. So far, that brings us year-to-date of just over $1 million surplus, but that will change as we get closer to the end of the year. If you'll then turn to page marked 36, the Statement of Revenues, Expenditures, and Changes. Always looking for lines here that on the far right column are above or below the percentage of the year that we're through at 50% of the year. You can see one thing, copier revenue is lower than expected, but it was expected to be extremely low, so it's only slightly lower. You know, I'm not overly concerned about that. By setting our policy of 30 pages free for all users, we don't have a lot of copier revenue coming through, which is just fine. Non-resident fees are running ahead. More people are paying to be a library AADL borrower than we were budgeted for. That's good to see. And overall, as we said, 51.6% of revenue this point in the year. Looking through the expenditures, you can see we are right at 50.84% on personnel. That's just a tiny bit ahead. We'll see where that comes in as we get close to the end of the year. Again, this does include all the changes that we made with the approval of the contract. So it's possible that this might need an adjustment when we get close to the end of the fiscal year. We'll know a little bit more about that as we get closer. Accounting and audit, as we've been saying, that's over because we were without an accounts payable clerk for a long time. We've now moved that work in-house. Jodine is taking on that work as part of her responsibilities as executive assistant. However, our finance manager has been injured and is on bed rest for a little while. So she's going to be all right, but we were going to be bringing the consultant back to help with check runs for the next couple weeks. So that will be accruing a little bit more money. We will square that up at the end of the year again. Building rental, as we said, we had an error in our budget projections. So as we get closer to the end of the year, we'll be making an adjustment to that line, or asking you to make an adjustment to that line. Legal expense is running over, but that was mostly due to the legal negotiations or the contract negotiations. That's falling as we go year over year or month over month. Library programming, we're right where we want it to be, right on the money, about 50% of the way through the year, 50%. Materials, it's at 53%. That's good, though, because we usually spend almost nothing on materials in the second half of May and June because we can't have things come in that cross the fiscal year. So we pretty much bring materials purchasing to a halt in the month of June. So it's good to see that running just a little bit ahead so we don't leave too much money on the table. Postage running way over. We made a major change to that. We'll make an adjustment toward the end of the year. And seminars, conference, training, and travel. That's a little bit over. It's not a large budget, but I'm delighted to see that because it is usually way under. So I'm very happy to see that that is getting utilized and staff are going to have training and experiences and bringing stuff in as well. So overall, we're at 46% of our expenditures, 50% of the year, and that's what brings us to that 1 million surplus as of this moment. And that's the financial report. Any questions?
The MIPSR, 76.6%, that's just the money flow?
That's because it comes early.
Okay.
It's accrued over the course of the year, but the money mostly comes in early in the year.
Okay.
So that's to be expected. Good question. Okay, anything else? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to committee reports. So first up is the executive committee report. Scott, can you do the report?
Yes, of course. So the executive committee met twice in the last month. We have been reviewing our applicants for the vacant trustee seat. We can go into detail at the last agenda item here under new business, where we'll be discussing the replacement. So I won't go too into depth because that pretty much the entirety of our executive board meetings were around that topic.
Great. Thanks. Budget and Finance Committee.
Nothing to report.
Great. Now moving on to the library report.
Okay. So for our library report here for January 2024, first I want to start off with stat of the month. So this is state aid report time of year. We have to report on the previous fiscal year's numbers to the state library. That data is collected by every state library. That is, among other things, what the star ratings are based on, is the Public Library Data Service, which is a project of the Institute for Museum and Library Services. So this is the time of year when we are finishing up the stats from the previous year, and then our next step is to produce our annual report. So that'll be coming up next, and we'll be having a draft of that for you all to see. We were looking at overall circulation. So what I've got for you today is a chart of the past 5 fiscal years showing the percentage of, saying the total number of checkouts. Now these numbers are different from what we normally talk about because we are usually talking about circulation transactions, because the state standards and the national standards require you to report renewals and checkouts as one type of circulation transaction, because most libraries don't offer unlimited renewals. So it's usually you get one checkout, one renewal, and then you have to bring it back. So in our case, it's a little different. We have some people who renew all the time, like multiple times a day even. So we have a lot of renewal transactions. So this is just looking at actual checkouts. The green section are actual physical checkouts. The blue section is MCLS. That's the Midwest Collaborative for Library Services. That's where we get our ebooks, our Overdrive and Libby ebooks from. So what we see here is a slow but steady increase in the use of ebook checkouts, and that also includes e-audio checkouts. That's not just the books. But similarly, the green parts also involve all the audiobooks, all the CDs, all the DVDs. You can see really clearly with the effect of the pandemic and then the rebound as we've gone over time there. We had our actual checkouts between fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023 were almost exactly identical, like within 300 checkouts of each other. It was a little spooky. But during that time, we had some growth in the ebooks as well, so that's good to see. But it is worth mentioning that 28% of our patrons used MCLS at all. So while it's something that is certainly growing and slowly sort of inching up, most of the story here is really the story of streaming eroding demand for DVDs and Blu-rays. That's really what a lot of this number is, aside from, of course, the pandemic impact. So this is always interesting to see, to keep that in perspective. Ebooks are a big part of what we do, but the cost per circulation is through the roof compared to anything else. Just as a point of comparison, it's not uncommon for an ebook that you might pay $10 for if you were going to buy it from Amazon, or that we would purchase in hardcover for maybe $18 or $20 with our discount, to cost $90 for a single copy of the ebook that then expires after 26 checkouts. So it's really a racket, and we've been kind of very cautious with the public money we've invested in this, and particularly when you see that about a third of our patrons are using this service at all, it underscores that we really don't need to bet the farm on this format, at least not yet, as some of our peer institutions have. Any questions about that before I move on?
Do you?
Yeah, I'm just, so we pay 90 and then that's just, it covers 28 checkouts and then you
It
have to
depends.
buy
It's
it
different
again?
for every publisher. That's the
Okay.
most egregious example.
Yeah, okay.
Is some of the big ones. It's $90 for a single copy. Only one
Yeah.
person can use it at a time. And after
Oh.
26 checkouts, it evaporates.
That's wild, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild.
Do you know the breakdown of audio books versus ebooks that?
We can
are on
get
the
that.
need?
I didn't look at it in detail. It is primarily ebooks.
Oh, really?
There's certainly a fair amount of audiobook use, to be sure, but most of what we hear about, most of what we see, most of the collection is ebook and not e-audiobook. Any other questions about this?
Actually, I have a question.
Sure.
I just learned that we can access ebooks through some partner libraries through the same platform.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if those counts go into the MCLS count, or we don't count those at all.
I believe that those checkouts would have counted in this data. When you borrow something, it's basically other consortiums can share their collections with each other if available. So I believe that those would be counted in this.
Okay.
This also includes people who are accessing our collection through their APS membership. Because we have integration between the kid version of this, which is called Sora, and the adult version, Libby and Overdrive. So you are able to, with your AAPS credentials, use this collection, use our collection directly. But it's a small percentage, like 5-10% of those checkouts. Okay. So here's some event reports for you. Tiny Expo was bigger than ever. It is, to date, our largest single-day attendance at the downtown library. We had 6,300 people through the door, and that was December 9th downtown, over 50-plus vendors in the lobby. Got a nice photo there. I think that's Science Bee. You can see on her display there, it's just the zebra cakes. Those are rug hooked zebra cakes, and I bought those for my children because she doesn't have those anymore because my kids love zebra cakes. So, and then 1 week later, we had the Washtenaw Area Pickup Robotics Whopper Championship. That was at the Plaza. We had 8 robotics teams attending, and about 550 people attended that event. Super great, lots of great turnout. Everybody had a good time. And the Whopper Trophy, which by tradition is a can of beans, went to Skyline and Father Gabriel Richard. So they had joined up for an alliance. Upcoming events, we've got a very exciting concert coming up this Sunday. A 14-piece ska band from Detroit, Killer Diller, going to be here. We're doing these, we've been experimenting with after-hours concerts. So we had one from Tim Monger a couple of weeks ago, and so that's this Saturday at 9 p.m. We close the library, exit everyone out, and then we reopen for a concert. So we've been experimenting with that. It's been going well so far. So you can pick it up this Saturday at 9 p.m. Then we'll talk a little bit more about this in just a minute, but on Sunday, February 4th at 2 p.m. at the Michigan Theater will be the premiere of There Goes the Neighborhood, The Closing of Jones School, which is a documentary that we've produced in partnership with 7 Cylinder Studio. I've seen the most recent cut of this. It is terrific. It's harrowing. It's challenging, and it is really does an excellent job of telling the story of the old neighborhood and really how the closing of Jones School was the beginning of the end for that neighborhood. So that's coming up on February 4th in the screening room at the Michigan Theater. We're also arranging a separate screening for all the students at Community High to come and see that. And after the screening, this will be available on aadl.org for anyone to watch whenever they'd like. And this is one of our flagship productions from our Ann Arbor 200 project. And then coming up on Super Bowl Sunday, we've realized that's a great day for a Fiber Arts Expo. And so that will be happening on Sunday, February 11th downtown. A bunch of vendors and demos and all kinds of stuff. That was a big event last year. We're looking forward to its second iteration. So in the community, we are very proud to announce that Cinema Ann Arbor, a Fifth Avenue Press publication in partnership with the University of Michigan Press, has been selected as a 2024 notable book. The Library of Michigan chooses a crop of books that are published in the state each year to celebrate as notable books, and they have an event called the Night of Notables, which was here once years ago, maybe 8-10 years ago. And we're delighted that Cinema Ann Arbor was selected for this honor. It had also previously been shortlisted for the Alice Award, which was a design award. So this is big news, and congratulations to Frank Uli and everyone who worked on this book here at AADL and at the University of Michigan Press as well. So during the National Football Championship, we posted this photo of Jim Harbaugh from our archives on his with his VW Beetle that Bo Schembechler legendarily hated. And the results were pretty stunning. We had 2.7 million impressions, 30,000 likes, 3,000 shares, and nearly 1,000 comments on Facebook. Wow. Our biggest post ever on Facebook, for sure. Wow. We also had 30,000 impressions and almost 400 likes on Twitter, and 2,000 impressions and 300 likes on Instagram. For some reason, Instagram's not that big on sports. But that was a really great reaction. Congratulations to our marketing and archives teams for putting this out. It is a terrific photo. So, to talk about Ann Arbor 200, on January 1st, the city of Ann Arbor began celebrating its bicentennial. Our project is called Ann Arbor 200. You can get to it at aadl.org/Ann Arbor 200. And over the course of this year, we'll release at least 200 pieces celebrating and diving into deep parts of Ann Arbor. As we said, the There Goes the Neighborhood is one of our flagship releases. We've also released a podcast with the Chenille sisters, a podcast with Dave and Linda Siglin, who have operated the Ark for years. We have a post all about the Ann Arbor Airport, and much, much more to come. Lots of exciting projects coming all year long. We'll also be commissioning a new version of the mural on Library Lane. So we'll be posting a call for artists tomorrow, seeking for Black artists in Michigan to submit their interest, to be commissioned to recreate a photo about the Black community from our archives. So they'll have a choice from the archives of which photo they wish to recreate, and they will recreate those, and those will go up in replace of that current mural this fall. So the post will be up from January 30th through, I think, the beginning of March. And then we will, or end of March rather, and then we'll proceed with selection with Avery Williamson as our artist coordinator. We'll also be working with a community panel to help select who receives the commissions. And then the current panels will likely be put on permanent display at the plaza. So that will all be coming up. Here's some highlights from Ann Arbor 200 so far. Our first release was the Ann Arbor Observer, all of it, every issue. We've been working on this for a long time, and it's something we were very pleased to finally be able to bring to the community. The first issue of the Observer, if you're going to look at one, look at the first one, because it's just got everything that we're all dealing with today in that single episode, every single issue. It's really amazing. As we mentioned, There Goes the Neighborhood is one of our flagship projects. We also have an exhibit right now on the second floor called Recapturing Ann Arbor, where a photographer, Rick Coco, went around town and tried to recreate classic photos of buildings. On our website, you actually have a slider. You can swipe back and forth and see the old and the new photo, and you can see those photos side by side over on the second floor. And also on MLK Day, we released a set of historic photos from the Second Baptist Church's ongoing MLK Day unity marches that they've had since before MLK Day was a holiday. So that's coming up. That was released earlier, and there's more to come. So please stay tuned to Ann Arbor 200. February's Black History Month, and AADL has a page dedicated to offering entertaining and educational resources. We'll have some events including film screenings, a theater performance, although I believe the theater performance was just canceled. Is that correct? The Black and Brown Theater? Yes, they just recently had to cancel that event. And events on Black history and in the Detroit and Washtenaw County area. We'll have links to videos from past events about food, music, architecture, and more, as well as links to books, audio, and video and content in our collection. And part of our strategy as an organization about celebrating and observing months, heritage months, is to make sure that we're doing at least as much outside the month as we are during the month, and ideally more outside the month than we do inside the month itself. So while this is a big deal for us, it's really something that we try to focus on all year round. New AADL releases. We're in the final stages of getting our library card application translated into different languages. This is something that's been coming up more, particularly from AAPS, when they're sending home the forms for second grade roundup for us to, in many cases, there are students in the class whose parents are not as comfortable in English. So we have worked actually with the Translation Center at the university to have our form translated into these following languages: Dari, Arabic, Chinese, Farsi, Hindi, Japanese, Korean, Russian, and Spanish. And those will be available for printing on demand at the desk, and as well as available when the teachers are asking for them for parents in their classroom. So we're excited about that. It's been a long time coming, and it's excited to see how that gets used in the community. For a staff spotlight this month, we're highlighting Jacob Gorski, who's a library technician in our outreach department. He's been here for 6 years. What do you wish people you worked with knew about you? I love karaoke. I've been known to sing all sorts of music: Amy Winehouse, Creed, Randy Travis, you name it. And the little feller in my picture is my nephew, Frank. Jacob is great to work with. He's the staffer who's been most responsible for the Big Gay Read, as well as the Tournament of Tomes, which is something that's going on right now. So congrats to Jacob. Mention of the month. We got 2 nice shout outs from big December events. Here's a tweet from the Father Gabriel Richard Robotics team. Thank you to the Ann Arbor District Library for hosting Whopper 2023 competition today. The Biting Irish is what they're called, or part of the winning alliance with Skyline High School. We're ready for 2024. And then also, here's a nice post from Sajeev Viswazaran. He is a vendor who is exhibiting at Tiny Expo, and they took a great picture of him from the balcony there, and he had a great day there at Tiny Expo. Here's our compliment of the month. Patron wished to convey sincere appreciation to the librarians responsible for our DVD and Blu-ray collection for superlative achievement in both range and quality of materials, as well as the music collection. Patron credits the library with exposure to a wide range of topics and genres outside of his prior zone of interest, and thanks to librarians for broadening his horizons. Patron asserts that our collections in both formats put those of the Detroit and the New York Public Libraries to shame. Well, we'll take it. There's one of the interesting things about those collections, even as demand for the hottest stuff is declining, there are increasingly things within that collection that are not available to stream anywhere. And those are things that really are becoming extremely priceless and almost too valuable to have on the public shelf. We'll see how that goes. But the collections are remaining well used overall. But as you can imagine, a lot of the checkouts were driven by the hottest new releases. Particularly, we used to have a brisk trade in superhero movies, and that has changed significantly since Disney+. All right, and here's a complaint of the month. First, I want to say that the AADL is a great community resource, and I personally value it a lot. Thank you for your good work. I've been in the reserve line for an art print, Looking into the Garden by Pierre Bonnard. I noticed that the print has been overdue for almost a month. When I called the help desk, I was told that the usual email notices are sent until 45 days are passed. Then a fine is assessed. This policy seems unfair. In this case, it adds at least an extra month of this borrower's time and extends the wait for everyone else. Perhaps this time of forgiveness could be decreased in some way. Perhaps a call to see if there's a problem in returning the item. Perhaps more urgent requests for return could be made before 45 days. It makes me wonder why I should return my items on time. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. So we hear this occasionally. And just to be clear, what happens is that when your item is due, you receive multiple notices reminding you that it's going to be due. Once it becomes overdue, you get a notice every 2 weeks reminding you that you have an overdue item and telling you that you will be billed for it when it becomes 45 days overdue. At 45 days, we don't charge a fine, we send a bill. Because you can either bring back the thing and the bill goes away, or you can pay the bill. Because at that point, we are assuming it's not coming back. And so we send the bill. And I think we might have talked about this before, is that then if you have a balance of over $25 for more than 45 days, you'll be sent to a collection agency. However, the collection agency that we use is not allowed to affect credit ratings. So the letters that you get from the collection agency is the extent of the teeth that the library has. One thing that I said when I responded to this patron is that in my 25 plus years working on this issue in this community, it's my professional opinion that there's nothing that we can do to affect this. If fines didn't make any difference. When we stopped collecting fines, there was almost no change at all to the amount of the collection that was overdue. And while it's very hard for conscientious library borrowers to understand, some people just don't care. They see the notice, it doesn't bother them. They'll bring it back when it's going to bring it back. The other thing I mentioned is sometimes it's sickness. Sometimes it's emergency international travel. Sometimes they've passed away. And it takes until somebody's cleaning out their house for us to get those things back. So you can't always assume that it's just someone who's choosing to keep that item indefinitely. And there's really no mechanism by which we can contact them and encourage them to bring them back that A, would be fair, and B, would be effective. So we hear this occasionally from people who are waiting on things where we only have one copy and it's overdue. And it sucks, but that's sharing for you. So sometimes sharing is not convenient. Any questions about that?
It sucks, but that's sharing for you.
Yeah.
Can you put that on a t-shirt, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Next summer game.
There are a lot of other wonderful objects in that particular collection,
There certainly are.
too.
And this patron is on hold for several of them.
Yeah, so I hope that,
I hope they're able to find something else to
they're-
use.
yes, that suits their taste and aesthetic.
Yes. Any questions about any of that? Oh, and here's one more thing, a very, very close sneak peek of this year's summer game art from artist Mario Zucca. And wait till you see this. Oh, it just came out so terrific. It's really exciting. And you'll have to wait a few more months to see that. But it is in process, and Rich wanted to put this in here. So a very tiny, tiny sneak peek. That represents about this much of that card.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's going to be real fun.
I love it.
And that's it for this month.
Good library.
Questions or anything? Okay. All right, moving on to old business. We have Parkland Plaza Facility Upgrade Update with Len.
Evening. Happy to report we are on schedule. Everything's going well. I think since the last time I gave you an update, the structural steel's in, the geo wells are in, a lot of the HVAC ductwork's been put in, equipment's been put in, all the rough in for plumbing, electrical. We're kind of down to drywall and finishes and all that sort of thing for the next couple months. We're still working on paper vault. And we have a resolution for the cooler for storing the materials. But all in all, everything's going well. We've added the front space to move the friends into when we move into the space. So it's going along well. I think our original punch date for completion was April 15th. We're probably within a week or two of that. It may be May 1st just because things get pushed back, but we're really close to being on schedule. And then we'll be able to schedule that civil site work for the exterior. So it's all going well. Any questions?
That's great.
It's wonderful.
Now, we will have, we've talked about this before, we'll have a budget adjustment. The original requisition for the build-out space was based on the construction estimate. The bid results were a little bit higher when everything came back, mostly because of the HVAC, and then we've had some site conditions and change orders and things like that. So we will have that coming in February. That'll correct the budget and replenish the contingency amount. So I'll have that for you all.
We're also planning to bring in February a resolution to transfer last year's surplus into the capital fund. So we should still have the capital fund come out ahead even after this budget adjustment is made. But we're still working on nailing that down.
All righty. Well, thank you all so much. I'll see you next month.
Thanks.
Here in just a minute.
Cool. All right, yes, moving on to new business, we have a resolution to approve the purchase of 31 workstations from Madison Liquidators at Parkland Plaza.
Yes, so this would be the cubicle workstations on the first floor and second floor. First floor is collections and acquisition, second floor is for the archive staff. This would be all of the open space in the new office space we're building out.
Cool.
I just want to say, these are cubicles with walls.
Yes.
They do not go all the way to the ceiling, but this is not an open office.
Yeah. And they're unique, they're unique to our staffs. Our collections and acquisitions, they need carts, they need space, and the archive staff need work surfaces. So they were all custom built.
Great. So, order of operations, I read the resolution. Do we read it first and then get a motion? Or do we?
Yes.
Read the whole, oh no, we get a motion and then read the resolution?
I think we usually read it and then move it.
Okay, cool.
That's how we should do it.
Okay, I
Ideally.
will read the resolution. The board resolves to authorize the purchase of 31 workstations from Madison Liquidators for Parkland Plaza in the amount of $201,665.26. 2, that the expenditure be authorized from the capital fund. 3, that all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. Okay, can I get a motion to approve this purchase?
I move to approve this purchase.
Second.
Great, discussion.
I just want to point out the amount of 201,665, if you look on the previous
Yeah.
page, with the tax is what's missing. That the quote, or the tax is included on that quote and is not, we don't pay sales tax. So that's the difference between the bottom line on the quote and the amount in the resolution.
Okay.
We're very pleased to be able to bring in 31 workstations for this price. We paid almost twice per unit
Yes, yes.
Wow.
for the ones that here on the fourth floor.
When we remodeled the fourth floor, each station was just over $10,000.
Wow.
It's well into that.
Where's
Are they
the,
kind of similar to what's in there?
Similar, they don't have like that hard clad outside. But this really was, those are more, office space where you sit down and do work. These stations, you have work that has to be done in there. So it had to be completely custom, I guess. So there's been a lot of back and forth. But we were happy to see, one, we can get it from a liquidator, and the number was a lot less expensive than we anticipated. The number I had in my head a year ago was much higher.
For some reason, there's a lot of office furniture available, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that right?
where's the 20% discount coming from? Are we just friendly
I
or?
think it's bulk.
Okay.
It's one of those things, the more you buy, the more they'll knock off.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you had the staff, take a look at the staff that'll be using these, they looked at this and approved of
Yes,
everything?
yes.
Okay, cool, just checking.
Yep, we've worked with both managers of both departments. We had a staff meeting. We started out with a small concept, and they actually had shorter walls, those types of things. Staff requested taller, deeper.
Okay,
So,
love to
yeah,
hear
yes,
it.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Just gotta check.
And they will have, what we haven't committed to is the finishes.
Mm-hmm,
We'll get staff input on that.
good, awesome, thank you.
Great, okay. Can I get a vote to authorize the purchase of 31 workstations from Madison Liquidators for Parkland Plaza? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Great. Resolution passes. And looks like the next item is also Len. So this is a resolution to approve walk-in cooler repairs and modifications by M.W. Moores at Parkland Plaza. So now I have to find that resolution and get better at this. Here we go. So the board resolves, 1, to approve walk-in cooler repairs and modifications by M.W. Moores for Parkland Plaza in the amount of $46,780. 2, that the expenditure be authorized from the capital fund. And 3, that all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. Can I get a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Second. Oh,
Great. Discussion.
One thing is, I'd like you should all have a loose copy.
Yes.
Since the packet was printed, we realized something was missing from this. So we'll need an amendment or to revise the resolution
Okay.
to the amount $52,780. What was missing was the door to get in and out. So there's currently a forklift door, which we are having changed into a person-sized door. So that's the part that was missing from the framing of that. And this is Len, why don't you go ahead and tell us about this project?
Yeah, so this was made to store beer and wine, and you drove a forklift in and out of it. So over the years, the forklift had kind of pushed the walls out, and it wasn't, it works, it's operational, but for the items we're gonna put in there, and be able to grow into, we want to make sure that it's going to last for the next 20 years. So what we're doing is actually insulating the inside of it with panels. And Eli mentioned, we're not going to drive a forklift in. It's going to be shelving in there similar to what we have at the archive. So there's going to be a man door, the typical door you'd walk in, and the forklift door will close in front of it. So we're kind of doubling the insulation to the cooler itself, just so it's not going to fail. Because right now, it works fine, but when you make spaces cool and you can get air in, that's the humidity part. Take care of it now. And this was outside of the scope. We knew we wanted to do it as part of the archives build-out, but it's not part of the build-out.
I would like to make a motion to amend the resolution, item number 1, to the amount of $52,780.
seconded.
Thank you.
And then we vote on the amendment.
Correct.
So, all right, all those in favor of this amendment, say yes.
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 All those opposed? All right, amendment passes. Any more discussion before we vote on the main resolution? Okay, all those in favor of approving the walk-in cooler repairs by M.W. Moores for the amount of $52,780, say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? Great. Resolution passes.
Thank you so much.
Onward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, because it's January, we have the approval of the board meeting dates for 2024. It's on page 45 of the packet. Is there anything to discuss,
I would just draw your attention to the parenthetical concerns on the second page. Some of the dates land on UMich spring break, AAPS spring break, Passover. One of them is moved from Memorial Day. So if anyone has any concerns with these, this is a good time to change them.
So this follows the fourth Monday format, except when otherwise noted.
So historically, we've avoided a APS spring break, and I would say it looks like this is the first night of Passover, is that right?
It begins, yes, it would be
Begins
right at the
that
beginning night. Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
feel like we should probably move that one too.
Agreed.
Yeah, I will definitely not be here on March 25th.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other dates throughout the year? Doesn't have to just be the parenthetical ones that people have concerns about.
I think I'm probably, I don't know, I might be the only person that observes Michigan spring break, but it doesn't, that has been the case for a long time. So, thank you. I mean, I don't always go away for that period of time.
I will not be here February 26th, so if it is moved,
Yeah.
wonderful, but we don't need to go through the trouble for this one meeting.
Okay.
I actually will not be here either for a work trip, so there we go. Will we have quorum? I suppose we will.
I guess if everyone,
Will everyone else be able to attend on the
Let me look.
26th?
as far
Yeah.
as I know.
I can, and the week before that is the midwinter break and
Yeah.
Mm.
President's Day,
Right.
so that doesn't really
Sure.
work very well.
Yeah.
So I think we should probably just keep the 26th.
Yeah, if you can achieve a quorum, I would. Which means that you need
Four.
4, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We'd only need a fifth if we have a if we need a
Yeah.
closed session.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so sticking with the 26th.
Yep.
But then
But then
March 18th instead of the 25th? Do people want to move that first because of spring
For-
break?
Yeah.
Yeah,
March 18th look good for everyone?
that works.
Okay, March 18th.
Okay. And then for April,
We could go, there's actually
we can do the
5 Mondays
29th.
in April, so we could go the 29th.
Leap year makes it 29.
that way we don't conflict with the council meeting, which is why we moved to the fourth Monday in general. Not, like, some people like to watch these meetings.
Because they're on the 3rd, right? Or they,
First and third.
first and 3rd, yeah. So,
So if we did the fifth, we wouldn't conflict with anyone.
right.
I'm sorry, what day
It
are
would
we?
be the 29th of April. It'd be the fifth Monday.
Oh, the fifth Monday.
29th of April.
I won't be here, but that's one person down.
Yeah.
We have a documentary thing we gotta be at, so.
Okay.
I think that should work for me.
Okay, 29th.
Okay, great. And then any other, so we've already moved the one off of Memorial Day
Yes,
to
that's
the
right.
20th. Great. Any other dates that seem problematic to folks?
What do we say?
And then we often don't have the August meeting, but we decide that once it gets closer.
Yes.
Okay,
It's helpful to have it on the calendar.
yeah.
Same with the December meeting.
What do we say for March 18th?
Okay. And now everyone needs a moment to write dates down, but any more discussion?
No, we will send you, Jodine will send to the board the official list of dates.
Thank you.
Jodine.
Thank you. Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the list of dates as amended for our meetings for this year?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the amended schedule, say yes.
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 All those opposed? Great. We have a schedule.
Yay.
Thank you.
If
All
there is an ambition towards a retreat, we should get that scheduled, you know,
All right.
imminently.
Yeah.
We should probably get the new trustee on board first.
Yeah.
That's next
I would love
Indeed.
to have that also in the later part of next year.
of this year.
Yeah, this year, whatever year it is.
Whatever year.
Whatever year we're rocking with right now, in the later part, would be great.
Great. Okay, so next up, we have the discussion and decision of board member replacement. So I'm going to hand things back over to Scott for that.
Sure. And my phone keeps locking up on me. I have my notes. So as a reminder, much appreciated and long-serving trustee Vanderbrook resigned at the end of last year, and we have a vacant seat. And we solicited applications from the community in the month of December with the closing date at the end of the year. We received almost 40 applicants, and so many of them are so well qualified, clearly love the library and willing to serve, and we have the good fortune of living in a community with just such a great group of folks who care about the library. So the executive committee individually reviewed each of the applicants. We all came up with our short lists. We met to discuss the list of applicants we thought really stood out. Eventually chose out of that group a list of our 3 top picks. I had a phone call with each of the 3 top candidates. Had an excellent conversation with everybody. And again, like all of the applicants were really incredible. And after another meeting and much discussion, the executive committee came to, I think, a unanimous agreement that we would like to recommend the appointment of Lisa Campbell. So Lisa brings quite a unique and broad range of experience and perspective that we think will really strengthen the board's ongoing effectiveness. In addition to being a library superfan who recognizes and cares deeply about the important role our library plays in our communities, and she has an interest in serving long-term on the board. She also holds a Master of Library and Information Science and has years of work experience as an academic librarian in the community and in multiple libraries. She also has experience working in the private sector for vendors that provide products and services to libraries, so she's seen both sides of that experience. Experience leading significant new construction for large facilities for public institutions. Has worked at a strategic level within public institutions on external partnership negotiations. So we think with this sort of breadth of experience and perspective, she really stood out among the really incredible group of qualified applicants. And so we would like to make that recommendation. And I'm not sure exactly how the process goes here, if we want to hear other recommendations or formal nominations, but that is where the executive committee landed. So any questions or thoughts?
Just a huge thank you to everybody that applied. There were a lot of really compelling things. And then thanks to leadership for really wading through and talking to people. I trust your decision process on this, and I appreciate it.
There were a surprising amount of applicants. As secretary, one of my responsibilities was forwarding on all of the recommendations to Eli and Jodine. Each and every one, again, not only hugely qualified, but also excited about the prospect of contributing to the library, which I think really speaks volumes, one, to our staff and our library operationally, but also just as our community engagement level. So it was very exciting to see. And I will also say the experiences with developing and constructing new large public spaces is an exciting point on the resume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same reaction, I think, as a point of process that, just to say out loud that all of the applications were received by all of us through the board email address. And I too was just like so impressed both by the enthusiasm and sort of desire of community members to participate in the leadership of the library, and that interest really just stood out, and just so many qualified folks. And I imagine if some are watching tonight, and have just learned that they, were not nominated, I do hope. I mean, I think it's important to send the message that this board is an elected board, and there will inevitably be an opportunity to campaign for a seat. None of us will be on this board forever, and it's always changing. So I hope that people will consider and think about how to achieve a seat on this board, either through a future process like this or the election process. So.
Didn't mean to hit the mic. Also, as a point, I think as well, Eli, you've mentioned before about how we do corporate sort of partnership and volunteering as well. Each and every person that applied and didn't apply also would be encouraged to volunteer in that capacity as well, just if they're still looking to contribute to the function of the library as well.
Of course. Yeah, for me, it was really just like 36 times saying, they'd be great, they'd be great, they'd be great. I mean, it was really an embarrassment of riches, just in terms of the quality and enthusiasm and open hearts of everyone who was interested in service.
Yeah.
So that's always inspiring.
Yeah, it was a difficult decision for sure. It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah, we had a long conversation. Yeah.
yeah, even just narrowing it down and then in the final decision as well.
I appreciate the thorough process as well. Thank you for bringing us a great candidate.
Yeah, and thanks again, Scott. He really did a lot of work in this process, so I appreciate your time and thoughtfulness and, just the energy that you put into it.
Yeah, thank you.
I would like to motion to appoint, thank you, Lisa Campbell to serve out the remaining time of trustee Vanderbrook's term.
Seconded.
Great. This is a roll call vote, so let's do it.
Trustee Hadley?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Leah?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Silva?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes.
All right, congratulations to Lisa Campbell.
Yeah,
And
we look
we look
we
forward
look
to
forward
welcoming
to
you.
seeing you next
And to
month.
us, yes.
So what will happen next is often we have, when we have new elected trustees, we'll have a judge come and ceremonially swear them in. That's not necessary. So what we'll be doing in this case is we'll contact the new trustee and give her information on how to be sworn in, which you can do with any notary, including the numerous notaries that are available at the library. So that is something that will be easy for us to help her with. And then she will be take seat at the February meeting, and then we can proceed with any committee assignments that might be changed.
Great, thank you. Yeah, when I was appointed in March of 2020, I got sworn in the credit union drive-through. And I sent my forms through the pneumatic tubes, and I swore to uphold the Constitution on the steering wheel of my Honda Fit.
That's a very Ann Arbor story.
Yeah.
Right? Everything about it, credit union.
You need to do it on an e-bike next time.
Yeah.
Motion to e-bike next time. Lots of
I
love.
didn't have an e-bike in 2020. but now
I'm
I do.
saying, well, now, this is the
Next
next
time.
great one, yeah. next time.
So when do we do committees?
So the committees, the executive committee in the bylaws is determined as being members of the officers.
Okay.
The Budget and Finance Committee does not have a stated term. So it is not required, it is not expired, which means the standing Budget and Finance Committee still exists
Okay.
until a new one is appointed.
Okay.
So it remains the same. Fortunately, the incoming treasurer is required to be on it. The incoming treasurer is already on the Finance Committee.
Okay,
So
so
there's
you
no
don't have to
change
do it.
needed,
Okay.
that the next meeting, we can revisit that.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Great.
With me not being there at the next meeting, does that change anything at all? No.
We can still vote you in.
Great. Thank you, team.
Don't you worry.
Well, you're already treasurer, and the bylaws say you are on the budget.
We don't have, I'm just saying, new committees and, loop me on all my, thank you.
All right, that's it for business. Do we have any public comments?
No citizens comment.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
All right, in that case, I get to announce that the meeting is adjourned and use the gavel.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.